Hello YouTube, it is your boy, B3, back with another kicking movie reaction review. Last time we did The Black Cat, starring Bela Lugosi and Boris Karloff. And today we are doing the next film in this kind of Karloff-Lugosi team-up. Little marathon that I'm doing. The Raven from 1935. So The Raven is an American horror film based on Edgar Allan Poe's 1845 poem, The Raven. And it's actually based on several Poe works. It's very loosely based on The Raven. It's more about The Raven than based on it. It features Lugosi as a Poe-obsessed, and I mean obsessed, mad surgeon with a torture chamber in his basement, and Karloff as a fugitive murderer on the run from police. Directed by Lou Landers, screenplay by David Bowen, starring Boris Karloff, Bela Lugosi, aka the greatest actor of all time, Irene Ware, Lester Matthews, and Inez Courtney. Music by Clifford Vaughan, cinematography by Charles Stummer, edited by Albert Aske's production company, Universal Pictures. They also distributed it. Released in July of 1935. Runtime, about an hour. And it's in English. Yeah, what a cool film. This film might actually be... I'd say this film is better than The Black Cat. Although The Black Cat just kind of hits a chord with me, The first time I watched The Black Cat, I was much more impressed with it than the first time I watched The Raven. But I think The Raven definitely has a higher rewatch value than The Black Cat. It's a fantastic film. I do think Lugosi and Karloff both actually give better performances than they did in The Black Cat, which is also based on Poe, I believe. Yeah, so this woman is in a car accident, and the only surgeon skilled enough to save her is Bela Lugosi's character. And he does. And then, they become friends, and he kind of falls for her, and she even starts falling for him. But she's engaged to another man, and it's another man who actually works for the doctor. And the woman's father, who's kind of a judge, kind of picks up on this, because she's a dancer, and they were both sharing a booth at one of her shows, because they had once again had become friends after he saved her life. And that scene is so good. Lugosi's performance in this film is... Dude, it's incredible. Lugosi, this is some of his best work, I would say, in The Raven. I've seen a lot of Lugosi, even non-horror stuff, and this is good. This is very, very good. So he's leaning in, and he's obviously obsessed with her, and the judge kind of notices, and then when they go to her dressing room to congratulate her and stuff, he notices it again, and then he goes to the doctor and is like, "You cannot see my daughter anymore, because I can tell that she could easily fall for you and break off her engagement, and you're a much older man, and I don't think this is appropriate. I think in the long run, everyone would be happier if she just married the man around her age that she is engaged to." And then he threatens the judge. Lugosi threatens the judge. Then he invites them all to a party, and the judge tells them all not to go because he's smart. But his daughter and his to-be son-in-law go anyways. They go anyways. And of course, it's a trap. He captures the judge, he captures the daughter, and he's going to torture them. He puts the judge in the torture machine from The Pit and the Pendulum, and etc., etc. And he puts the couple in a room with walls that close in and crush them. Classic stuff, real classic stuff. But they do eventually get out because Boris Karloff's character, spoiler alert, betrays Lugosi. So, in this film, Boris Karloff plays a very well-known criminal. And he goes to the doctor because he wants the doctor to change his face. And he's not a plastic surgeon, but he knows how to alter the nerves in the man's face so that they contort his face into a different expression, therefore rendering him unrecognizable. But but he was like, I want you to do some murder and torture for me, and then I'll change your face. And Boris Karloff's character is like, I'm a criminal, and I've had to kill before to save my own skin, but I'm not going to kill just to kill, and I'm certainly not going to torture. Even though he had tortured before as well. Like, I know I'm kind of making Boris Karloff's character out to be a good guy, but he is also very much a bad guy. Both their characters are bad guys, just like in the last film. Black Cat, arguably. But, so instead, he's like, okay, well, I'll fix your face now as a sign of good faith. And instead of fixing his face, he, like, deforms, heavily deforms the right side of his face. And some pretty cool makeup, honestly. And he's like, all right, I have deformed you. And if you don't do my bidding, I'll never fix you. And it's a really cool reveal because, once again, Lugosi's down with torture, right? So he like has all these curtains pulled back and reveals all these mirrors, and like the vision of his horrible face and Lugosi's laughter and everything like horrifies Karloff so much that he pulls out his gun and he shoots all the mirrors, which leaves no bullets left to fire at Lugosi. And it was, oh god, that's my favorite scene in the whole film. It's so good. But yeah, Boris Karloff's character goes along with Lugosi for a while, but eventually does betray him, and he releases the couple from the crushing room, pushes Lugosi into it, and then crushes Lugosi. So cool. It's got great effects, it's got great sets, it's got great cosmetics, it's got great acting. I think the film is all around great. If I could complain about one thing on this film, it would be a complaint that I had for the Black Cat as well. It ends on a comedic note, which is so weird for a horror film, you know? Because, like, okay, so this film is very similar to the Black Cat in many ways. They're both psychological horror, they're both starring Lugosi and Karloff. Came out the year after. It's kind of a spiritual sequel in many ways, but not actually a sequel. And Karloff's character does die too, because he gets shot. And they're both bad guys, but Karloff gets some redemption, which is nice. But another thing that's similar is, like, there's a section of the film that's like a comedic scene. Like in The Black Cat, when the cops show up to ask about the bus accident, that's a comedic scene. The cops are like comedic relief characters. And then there's a party that that Lugosi's character has, that the doctor has, and that's also kind of a comedic relief scene, because like they have this little horse racing game, and it's a funny scene. And in The Black Cat, it felt so out of place, because they're like trying to make this scene about police asking about a dead man in a horrible wreck comedic, and it doesn't fit, and it's just so weird. And then in this film, the comedic relief is like at a party, and that makes so much more sense, you know? Like, people are laughing and having fun at the party, so having the comedic scene there makes a ton of sense. But then at the end of this film, there's like a fake-out scream, and then they reveal that like two of the people everyone who was at the party slept over, which I guess was a normal thing to do back then. But because he was in a big mansion, so they all had their own rooms and stuff. Lots of these old horror films take place in these big-ass houses that I'll never be able to afford. But they... sorry. Two of them never wake up during the thing because they took sleeping powder. And they kind of joke about that, and that goes to another scene where it's like the couple driving and they're kind of joking about the horrific thing they just went through. And I'm like, why are these films ending on a comedic note? They're just taking away the punch of the ending, you know? And it was probably like some kind of standards thing or something. I don't know. I think this was technically a pre-standards film, where it's like we want to have a happy ending, but maybe horror films shouldn't always have happy endings. Like, if someone gets out of everything alive, that's fine. Alien is one of my favorite films of all time, and you know, Ridley survives Alien, Dutch survives Predator. I can think of many horror films that have a happy ending, but the ending, or technically a happy ending, but the ending doesn't get rid of everything. You know, like, there's so much tragedy here. Like, 2 people are dead, one of which you consider a hero and didn't know that he was a serial criminal before that. You just thought he was being blackmailed and everything, which he was. Well, actually more like extorted. But it just didn't... The film doesn't hit right if they're like, oh, whatever, now everyone can be happy and no one's traumatized. And it's like, what? Come on, man. It just doesn't feel right for the ending to be that happy. Like, there's no body count of innocent people in this film, which I feel like a lot of horror fans would probably complain about, but horror films aren't about the body count. Like, I mean, I like myself a good body count, you know? I watch slashers, I watch monster movies, but this isn't either one of those. This is a psychological horror film. So, no one really needs to die, you know? And it was totally fine with just the bad guys dying. Because everyone else was, in fact, tortured, even though they didn't die. So, you know, something still happens to innocents and etc. But, I don't know, the ending just... The ending would have been more impactful if they didn't 180 the tone and then suddenly give it a comedic ending just like they did in The Black Cat. Yeah, so this is very much a spiritual sequel to The Black Cat. I do love The Raven as well. I will be reviewing 2 more Boris Karloff, Bela Lugosi, I don't want to say team up, I guess films that they co-starred in together very soon. The next one might be The Invisible Ray. I have The Invisible Ray and then one other, which is name I'm blanking on right now. And I'd seen The Raven and The Black Cat before, but I've never seen these 2. So that'll be very interesting. So thank you all very much for your support. Please remember to rate, comment, subscribe. Check out all the cool links in the description below, Facebook, Twitter, etc. And we'll see you all next time.